Hey, what's up YouTube? My name's Alex and I've made over $375,000 in tracked profit sports betting over the past 2 years. And this video is just 10 things that I personally wish I knew when I started sports betting because I don't think they're intuitive, but they are really important. So the one thing you have to realize is it's you versus the sports books. It's a zero-sum game. You make money or the sports books make money. So the sports books, they're not gonna teach you how to bet. They're not going to tell you what's important to know, the sharp, profitable strategies that are going to make you money long-term. So these are 10 things I don't think are intuitive. I think a lot of new sports bettors don't think about them correctly. So let's get into it. So my first tip, I really wish I knew this when I started to gamble, is as a sports bettor, you wanna have as many sportsbook accounts as possible. And this is not intuitive, or when I started to gamble, I didn't find it intuitive, because if you think about being an investor, it doesn't really matter if you're using Fidelity, E-Trade, Robinhood, Charles Schwab. It doesn't matter. You're going to see the same price for a stock that you want to buy or sell on each platform. Sure, whatever, maybe there's minor differences in the fees from platform to platform, but it doesn't really matter. You only need one investment account. That's not the case in sports betting. The market is super fragmented. All sportsbooks set their own odds, and sometimes they have vastly different prices. So as a simple example, look at this play on Jalen Williams. Jalen Williams over 20.5 points. It's the same bet on FanDuel and Caesars. If he has 21 or more points, this bet will win. It's the same bet, but the price is vastly different. On FanDuel, it's minus 106. So you have to bet 106 to win back 100. On Caesars, it is much worse. It's minus 145. So you have to bet 145 to win back 100. So obviously, you'd want to place this bet on FanDuel because you're getting much, much better odds. It's kind of like if you were an investor and you went to E-Trade and you saw a stock at $106, and then on Robinhood, it were $145. Of course, you'd want to buy it at 106 because you're getting such better value. So as a sports bettor, it's really important to have as many accounts as possible because you always want to get the best possible price, the best possible odds on all of your wagers. So that's my first tip. And one thing to mention before we get into the second tip is if you enjoy this type of content, please like the video, please subscribe to the channel, and feel free to comment any questions. All of these things I don't think are intuitive when you start to bet on sports. They're common pitfalls that new bettors have. And I really think this type of content is important in the sports betting industry. So the second thing a lot of new sports bettors make the mistake of, and I made the mistake of, is they focus on irrelevant things. They focus on the wrong things. There's only two things, honestly one thing, that matters as a sports bettor, and that's how much money are you making? What is your ROI, right? A lot of sports bettors care about, for example, their win-loss record. But win-loss record is completely irrelevant because it all depends on the price or the odds you're getting. So I'll give you a simple example. This guy gave out a free pick today, and I don't mean to pick on him. I apologize if you're watching this video and this is you, but he's saying his free picks are 136 and 94. That seems pretty good. He had 136 wins and 94 losses, and his free pick, for this game was Florida. If you look at Florida, they're minus 160 favorites. They're favored to win the game. So you have to bet 160 bucks to win 100 in profit. So if he was 136 and 94, 136 wins, 94 losses, betting at minus 160 odds, he's actually down $900. So sure, he won more than he lost, but he's down money. And that's what matters as a sports bettor. So you can actually see in 2023, I had 2150 wins, 4,547 losses because I'm mainly betting on underdogs, right? So I made a ton of money, but I had more losses than wins. It's not intuitive. Everyone loves the feeling of winning, but in sports betting, it doesn't matter. For example, the Suns are plus 300 tonight. When I was recording this video, they were plus 300. So let's just say, for example, you go 1-2 betting at plus 300 odds with an $100 unit size. So your one win, betting $100, let's say is your unit size, that's gonna be 300 in profit. Your two losses are gonna be minus 200. If your unit size is $100, you're down 200. So your net profit is $100. You went 1-2, you lost more than you won, but you're actually up money. So long story short, as a sports bettor, you shouldn't care about win-loss record. You shouldn't honestly really care about anything except for what was my ROI and how much money did I make. So the third mistake that I made when I started sports betting, and I know a lot of other people make it, is I dove in way too quick. I was so excited to bet that I started betting money, but I had no clue what I was doing. I thought I knew sports betting because I watched sports. I'd played sports and watched sports all my life, so I thought I was a good sports bettor. That is not the case. If you're new to sports betting, take a step back. Before you go and you start betting a lot of money and getting shelled on the sports books, take a few hours. I'm not saying you need a 3-year course in sports betting, but take a few hours to learn how do the pros bet. What are sharp, profitable strategies like arbitrage, like positive EV, that are actually going to make you money long term? That's gonna pay dividends before you ever have to lose a dime. I even tell some new sports bettors, if you're uncomfortable with risking capital, start out betting 10 cents. See what your ROI is for 2 months betting 10 cents a bet. Because then if you're making money, you can up your unit size, but if you end up being a bad sports bettor, you can always reevaluate and kind of switch things up. So as a simple, analogy is I started out my career as a trader on Wall Street, and before I ever traded even $1, before I did anything, I had a 2.5-year training course where I learned everything about options trading, the math behind options, everything you need to know. We did mock trading, which is trading with fake money. Before I ever traded $1, I became an expert in trading. And by the time I was actually a trader, I was unsurprisingly really good at it. And it's the same thing as a sports bettor. Take a step back, take some time to learn before you dive in head first and betting a lot of money. So the fourth mistake a lot of new sports bettors make, I've made myself, is they look back at yesterday and think it applies to today. So for example, in sports betting, it's very common to see a guy who won yesterday and he won the day before and think, whoa, he's only betting on player props. Maybe that's the key to making money every single day, is just betting on these certain player props that he's betting on. But the truth is, every sports bettor has winning days, everybody has losing days. What really matters is winning long term, and you'll see a lot of people, they bounce around from strategy to strategy. Whoever's on the hot streak, they wanna know their picks, but they never learn how can I actually make money long term. And I'll give you a really simple analogy, is if there was a coin, let's say there's a coin, it's 55% weighted to show up on heads. If we flip that coin 10 times, sure, it's more likely to show up on heads more often, but you'd never know, right? You're never going to know if somebody has an edge, if somebody's a profitable bettor, they actually win long term, until you see hundreds, if not thousands of their bets. You need a large sample size. So the guy who won yesterday, you shouldn't just change your strategy because you lost money yesterday, but somebody else made money. You have to give it time. You have to look at things over a large sample size. The fifth mistake that I never made myself, but I see a lot of people buy into it, is they fall for scams. They fall for touts. Absolute bullshit. People who claim that they have a crystal ball, they know exactly what's gonna happen in the NBA tomorrow. Guess what? There's no crystal ball. There's no magic way to win every single bet. It's absolute BS. These people are just scams. I have no idea how it's legal, but they'll show off, their fancy Ferrari in the background, a fancy house, a pool. That's probably not even theirs. It's probably their friend's house. It's all BS. There is no crystal ball. There's no seeing the future and coming back.
Roads, where we're going, we don't need roads.
For every single bet, there's a good price for taking it. Nobody sees the future. Sports is relatively random. For every single bet, it's kind of like being an investor. There's a good price to buy and there's a good price to sell. And it's the same thing in sports betting, is this industry is littered with scams, it's littered with touts and absolute BS, and you have to avoid that altogether. Anyone who claims that they're winning $50,000 bet slips, just think about it. If they're actually placing $50,000 bets at a casino, that means they're a huge loser. There's no casino that's gonna allow you to place $50,000 bets over and over and over again if you're winning long term. If you do any research into professional sports bettors, sharp sports bettors, people who have acquired a lot of money sports betting, the number one guy, He was a computer scientist. It's not this guy with a flashy Lambo in the background, a bunch of strippers who's claiming that he knows sports so well that he can see the future. Don't fall for this BS. Please don't. It's a scam. I have no idea how it's legal, but you gotta avoid it. So my sixth tip for every new sports bettor is you gotta track your bets. If you wanna know, imagine being an investor. Do you think there's any hedge fund manager who can't tell you over the past year what his ROI was, what his return was? If you're betting on sports every single day, you have to know your profit and loss, your ROI. What sports, what leagues are you making the most money on? What sports books are you making the most money on? That's really important information as a sports bettor. So long story short, you gotta be tracking your bets. I use a verified bet tracker. It's called Pickit. It makes it super easy. It's literally free. Basically, the way it works is you sync your sportsbook accounts like FanDuel, DraftKings, Caesars, whatever, and then it will tell you your profit and loss, your ROI, by sportsbook, by league, all that sorts of stuff. And it's really important, right? It's essential. You have to know your ROI as a sports bettor. Otherwise, you're just kind of shooting in the dark. If you're placing 10 bets a day, over a month, you're not really gonna know, did I make money, did I lose money? You gotta be tracking your bets. So the seventh thing I think most sports bettors have to learn early on is how to manage their bankroll. I'll get people who reach out to me and tell me, hey, I have rent due. I need a parlay that's gonna pay my rent. It's like, that's not how sports betting works. Sports betting is about winning long term. I can't see the future. There's no crystal ball. There's no such thing as a lock in sports betting. Is a lot of people, when they get emotional or if they're on a losing streak, they start betting way too much money given what they have, given their bankroll, and that's not what you should be doing. You really need to learn about proper bankroll management, and the best strategy is called the Kelly criterion. We have other videos on this channel about bankroll management in sports betting that you can head over and watch, so I won't dwell on it. But bankroll management is really important. Don't chase your losses. If you're on a losing streak, don't start betting bigger to try to recoup your losses. And don't get too emotional where if you just love a bet and you're really feeling it, you put way too much money on it, because that can lead to disasters. So the eighth thing that I think a lot of sports bettors struggle with, I definitely struggle with it myself, is trying to force bets. Some days there's just not a lot of value. For example, let's say it's July or August, a slower time in the sports calendar. There's no NBA, there's no college basketball, no NFL, no college football. You shouldn't just be betting for the sake of betting. If there's no good bets, then you shouldn't be placing a lot of bets. I see a lot of sports bettors who are like, oh, I want to place 10 bets in a given night so I can have fun. I mean, for me, sports betting, it's not about having fun, it's about making money. So if there's only 4 good bets in a given night, you should only be placing 4 bets. On the other hand, if it's full swing, if it's January, you have NBA, college football, you have every major sport going on, you may have 30 bets. So you shouldn't try to place an exact number of bets every single day. And if it's slower time in the sports calendar and there's not a lot of value in the market, not a lot of good opportunities, then you shouldn't be, trying to force bets and just bet things for the sake of betting. And it was the same thing when I was a trader. Some days there's not a lot going on in financial markets. There were literally days where I would make 0 trades. And then there would be other days when there was a lot of opportunity, a lot of volatility. A lot of companies had earnings reports and there was a lot of trading activity, and I would make hundreds of trades. So it all depends on the given day. If there's opportunity, take advantage of it. If there's no opportunity, don't force anything. The 9th mistake a lot of sports bettors make is they get emotional and they attribute things to bad luck or good luck. The truth is, every sports bettor has bad beats. I've placed tens of thousands of bets over the past few years, and the amount of bets that I've lost by half a point, or I've lost because a player got injured or a player got ejected, it just happens, right? Everybody has lucky wins and bad beats. It's just kind of how it is. I see so many sports bettors, they get so emotional about bets, then they start chasing their losses. If you're a serious sports bettor, if you're a sharp sports bettor, you're gonna have bets that are lucky. You bet on the over in a game, the game ends up going into overtime. It shouldn't have won, but it ends up winning because the game goes into OT, and you're gonna have bad beats. That's just how it is. Stop getting so emotional about every individual bet. You're gonna have bad beats, you're gonna have lucky wins. So just look at everything over the course of a month, see how you do. And if you're at a positive ROI, you know you're doing the right things and you want to continue doing what you're doing. The 10th and final pitfall that a lot of sports bettors make is they don't understand how markets work. So what I mean by that is these sports books are constantly changing their odds, moving their lines based on new information. So for example, if a stock has a really good earnings report, the company made a lot more money than expected, you'll see the stock price go up in the market. The stock price is reflecting that, hey, the company's more valuable because they made more money than we were expecting. And it's the same thing in sports betting. So I'll give you a simple example, is the Chicago Bulls opened as plus 130 underdogs against the Jazz. Then news came out that the Jazz weren't going to have a few of their best players, so lines ripped towards the Bulls. The sportsbooks changed their odds, they moved towards the Bulls, and now the Bulls are the heavy favorite. So these sportsbooks aren't stupid. You'll see a lot of people say, oh, the Jazz have a lot of good players out, let's bet on the Bulls. That's already reflected in the sportsbook odds. Any public information, these sportsbooks are multi-billion-dollar companies. They're taking bets from millions of customers, moving around their odds, their lines based on where action's coming in. They already know this. If a star player is out or injured, it's probably already reflected in the odds unless you know it before the sportsbook knows it. But regardless, I hope you found these 10 pitfalls of sports betting, things that I wish I knew when I started sports betting. I hope you found this helpful. Feel free to drop any questions below. And again, please please subscribe if you're new to the OddsJam YouTube channel. You know, a lot of this stuff is not intuitive. These sports books, they're not gonna teach you how to bet. FanDuel doesn't want you to know how to beat FanDuel. Of course, they're not going to teach you actually valuable strategies. So I try to make these educational videos, and thank you so much for your time.